train is very cute. It can fit up to 4 passengers or 1 and a bit passengers lying down. Making your own subway line? It's like train enthusiasts' dreams. Maglev Metro does admit it. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, it's Tarrant here.
And Stella from Meeple University. Thanks for joining us for this review and overview of Maglev Metro.
Yes.
The game's by Jahja Games that was out recently.
Yes. Designed by Ted Alspach, who are known for
Werewolf.
Suburbia
Yes.
and Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Is it Werewolf as well?
Yes, I believe he did design Bézier's Werewolf.
It's a completely
Classic
different game.
of course.
I know.
But,
It's a
yes.
completely different game. But here we are with Maglev Metro.
Yes.
Have you heard of it? Have you seen it before? Are you a train enthusiast? Do you know anyone who's enthusiastic about train? Like Tarrant here? Yes?
I do generally enjoy
He
the
does.
route building.
The
so
route
we'll see
building.
how we go here.
And you love map as well. Every
I do
time.
like maps.
Exactly. Whenever we go to different country for traveling, you look at map on the train. It's like, oh, you
Because
just stand there forever.
It makes you learn how things are laid out. It's a very exciting thing.
Very. All right. So we are going to share you still about Maglev Metro,
Yes.
as well as Tarrant's enthusiastic about game and what we think of Maglev Metro.
Yes. So, Maglev Metro is, to a large extent, a route building game. We'll each have our own little train. And sorry, route building and point-to-point movement. And a big part of what we'll be doing out here on this board is building out our own personal subway lines using these sort of tube map, thick line styles of things here. Building stations like so. And sending our trains up, picking up passengers like so. And
Wait, he wants to lay down.
and taking them back to their matching stations. So I failed quite badly in that. There we go. Taking them back to their matching stations. And when you get passengers, you then add them to your player board in a matching coloured slot. So there are the robots that are gold, silver and bronze. Those are largely for engine building. And there are the coloured passengers who don't start the game in the bag. Those are largely for scoring points. And that is, sorry, as I flip this one around to make it actually line up, yeah, that is the bulk of what is going on in the game. So on each turn, you get to take 2 actions. Or if you've filled up these rows, you get an extra action for each of these rows that you've filled up with passengers. And each action is listed down here in the middle of the board. And your power in that action depends on how many meeples you've put in there. So there's a track action, which lets you place or destroy track up to the number of action points shown here. So you've always got 1, but you could have 2 or even up to 4. There's one for moving your train. And when you move your train, you can move basically from station to station along your line is 1 movement point. There's capacity, which is the number of passengers your train can hold. There's pick up, which is the number of passengers you can pick up at any one time. So what I showed you there before, I picked up 2 passengers, I would need to have had capacity for 2 passengers to do that. There's drop off, where you can drop passengers off at their matching coloured station, and or even if they're non-matching, but you want to do it with the matching station, and add them onto your board. There's refill station. You can take your action to draw passengers out of the bag up to your number and add them on the station that you're on. There's the build station action. So you can't put new stations on the map until you have this one. And you can't put these coloured ones or even pick up those passengers until you've unlocked that colour down here. You've got reverse train, so normally you've got to go all the way to the end of your line, but if you've got reverse train, you can flip around halfway. And then, probably most important, at least in our plays,
game, yeah.
You've got the adjust action, which lets you move the shiny robot meeples around your board and lets you take an action that was more powerful and then weaken it because you don't need it anymore, and beef up one of your others. So that gives you a lot of flexibility on the way you're building things up. So that's the bulk of the game there. You're trying to build up the actions that make the most sense for you. You're trying to build your route. Your route is only allowed to be a single path, a single line, or a loop. You can't branch off. And it actually goes relatively quickly once everyone's in there doing things. You then need to try to fight for what's going to earn you points. And you get points for all the coloured passengers that you deliver. If you put them in, and you get points for all of your links between stations. Depending on how you fill up this grid, you increase your points for a colour of passenger, or you increase your points for your links. And then you've also got 4 bonus cards to start the game. They're different types, so there'll be one for track tiles, there'll be one for commuters, there'll be one for your player board, there'll be one for your links. You can score one of these at the end of the game, and an additional one for each of these columns you fill. And so the game comes into action building heavily towards the start of the game to get your good actions, and then get as many of these coloured passengers as you can. Your engine building is kind of solo, but these passengers are limited. And then once the passengers come out on the board, you want to have your routes going to the right places so that you can snatch them out from under your opponents.
It's slight randomness when you draw it from the back. Draw the passengers from the back, I suppose.
Yes.
There's also a limit on the number of stations you can build, because this is basically what you can see.
Yes. There's no restrictions on overbuilding, going to the same places as each other.
But you can put only one route, because there's no point anyway in having more than one. Yeah.
So things like that. That's why they've got these very cool semi-transparent tiles, because you can quite happily build along the same route as another player in order to get to those same stations. I think that pretty much covers the overview of the game. There are 2 sides to this board. The Berlin side is considered the more difficult one. So you can build a single line or a route. And that's basically all it is for this side. The other side, which is Manhattan, has a central hub, and so that will have its place on the board. It counts as any one of these 3 colours of stations, and instead of having a single line, you have a series of spokes coming out from this hub, but you can't make loops. Otherwise, it plays the same.
Indeed.
So, what do you think?
I knew you were going to ask me first.
Yes.
You beat me to it. Well, firstly, let's have a look at the components. The components are amazing because, as Tarrant hinted earlier, these clear, semi-transparent railway lines makes it really work, and it looks really nice when it's colors going on different directions everywhere. I like these stations, which has got this like the station wall as well, the Meeple standard, but these are really thick. This is it's super thick. You can see that there, over here, and there.
Yes, that's a double layer cardboard to fit into a double layer player board, so it will sit up above the main board. It will sit up above the board.
Exactly.
And give space for these tiles to slot in between.
Yes, and this double layer board, it would be really hard, I think, if there is no double layer board. To hold these many meeples in there.
You would definitely have a knockoff risk, so it's a good, definitely
knock off, especially me. I just knock things off, woo!
Definitely a game worth having that.
Yeah, I mean the art is just obviously it's standard, but there's just the components, the details, the thickness. And this, obviously, the train is very cute. It can fit up to 4 passengers or 1.5 passengers lying down. Like, you don't want people. Anyways, you just like put it up like that. It's really cute. And each of us has got his own color. But other than that, I quite enjoy this game. I generally do like route building, point-to-point movement, like in the Ticket to Ride. That's sort of like, it's obviously this is like a few steps up. I like the decision of engine. I like engine building as well. Hence, Ticket to Ride doesn't have engine building, but this one, when you pick up passenger and drop off at the right color, then you get to take the meeples, put in your board, and as Tarrant said, there are 3 robot meeples, like in here and adjust as well, and that's the one that builds your engine mainly. While the colored one, which comes later, that will mainly give you points, and you can't really move them around once it's on your board. But like this one, do you want to have extra actions but filling this one's first, or do you want to have still 2 actions but make each action more powerful when you put it there? And that's why adjust action is very good, because you can adjust that every round to have, you know, oh, you wanna build this round, so you just want to put more meeples in the track action, for example, as long as you have the meeples. I found it very, this decision space is really good for the engine build. I do like engine building in that way, where, you know, there's a few ways of doing that. And also the order, which one you want to do first. You want to have extra actions, or you want to have more powerful actions. And this area is I think it's pretty neat as well. I like how cute is this in the going. It is slightly random. As I said, the drawing from the back is slightly random. Could be quite, you know, disappointing if the station that the people that you draw and then the station's all the way over there, and it might take
longer.
Yeah, to get there. But I think what are you doing?
I'm just adding some more track just because
to demonstrate what you're going to say is next.
It just looks cooler, I think.
It is actually. Yeah, I think it's like a nice engine building. I mean, there are a few other dissimilar, like sort of similar type of game, like Airlines as well. What other games there is like this? Maglev Metro. But I think the gimmick is the one that gets me more interested, more like the hype up. I know it's like, it's not a gimmick, but you know, the thickness, the train, the stuff, I think that's really cool. The game itself, it's fine. It's good. It's not like, I'm not absolutely like, oh my god, but I do enjoy the engine build. I'll come back to it. I'll let you share your thought first, and then I'll probably come back to it.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who likes building routes, this didn't quite scratch my itch, because I was building this single route, and it added the point-to-point movement. And what I find is I like to build the routes and then just assume the trains are running up and down them. Here I've got to move the train as well.
Oh,
so
right.
It didn't quite meet what I usually like out of route building. What's going on here is quite clever.
Yeah.
It can also be quite frustrating. And I definitely, the first time we played through,
because I keep getting the robot one.
You got the robots. I didn't.
Yeah.
I focused on the wrong things early and found myself quite behind. I couldn't do that much.
Yeah.
The final score was still relatively close, but
it's balanced.
So it kind of balanced out in the way that we were getting our points. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It didn't quite do it for me. I think sometimes I feel like there's a good mechanic that is that leads to a scoring method that's not as interesting to me. That's a comment I've had about Jahja, for example. A brilliant action selection mechanic that turns into a relatively straightforward set collecting game. this one here, I've got. I mean, this is really clever the way this action building works. I'm building routes out on here, but then I'm just ferrying. Then it gets to the point where I'm hoping the right passenger comes out of the bag, and I'm ferrying back and forward on a single track, and I'm trying to score these objectives, which. You know, some of them are odd objectives. There's a couple of objectives here where it's I get a bunch of points if I ignore one of the two of the colors of passengers, and
I got surprised with the objectives as well when I first saw it. Like, there's got to be a reason, right? I mean, the designer is not the first time designer. Publishers is well established.
Yeah, here's another, particularly these negative ones. It's like if I ignore the extra actions, I get points out of these.
Well, I had those. I had those in my game. I was like, oh, am I ignoring this? Like, I ignored 3 of those as well, like 3 of these because I had that objective. So I just like keep filling up here.
Yeah, so
it's quite different, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different way, and I find I've seen a few games where I haven't liked the end scoring style of things. They are attempts to do things differently, so it's not just the same old, same old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would have preferred it all to lead to something else.
Okay, maybe because there's no major point. Like, all this engine building isn't leading to something. You want something like. Or building, and then ta-da! Like the typical Euro gamer type. Typical Euro gamer type. You know what I mean, right? When you want to engine build and then get like a bunch of stuff out of it, while this is like kind of like really slowly gaining, in a way.
Yeah,
like chipping
possibly.
in a little bit. Which reminds me, it's a completely different game, but Whistle Mountain, also by Bezier Games. We probably like that one a little bit better than this one. I mean, this is not bad, like, don't get me wrong, this is still fun, as Tarrant say as well, we both agree. This engine building part is really fun, like, really fun. This one, I feel like it can be more fun, I don't know what it is, but, well, I mean, it's still fine. It's still fun, you're building things, you're moving things around, and then you have to match it with what you have, how strong your actions are, and things like that. That part is fine, but I feel like, you know, the objective in Whistle Mountain is more kind of like juicy.
Yeah. I
don't know, somehow.
Yeah, I think so. You're constantly building and adapting to things in that game. And there is a bit of adaptation here as well. Again, you can break your route down and redirect it as well if once the middle stations stop being
it feels like a voice of action a little bit, because it takes like action to break it down, and you want to try to get it right, and then, well, especially at the start, there are only 2 action, and that's very limiting. You can build, and then build route, and build action, and that's it. Build station, and that's it. But at least your opponent can't get to it before they build the track. I guess, kind of like, what I like about it is you can only go on your own track. If other people can go on your track, it means that there's a lot of it's deeper game. It's just a more strategic game. Like, you have to calculate, can other people build it there? Can they not?
Yep.
And that sort of thing.
Yep. The game does, there's a couple of clever things in here. You've got the river. The river's more expensive to build over as well.
Just thematic.
So gives a bit of variety in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some really nice ideas that I just would have liked to have seen linked up in a different way.
End game objective cards usually helps you in engine building as well, but this one I feel like it doesn't help you with engine building.
Yeah, they were quite. I picked these 3 at random, and 3 of them are negative. Like, don't use your straight tracks, don't fill your extra actions, don't gain any pink or coral color. So it's quite.
I've got surprised.
It's unusual, and I think it's also a trick for young players. I think if you hit upon something and you think, all right, I can go for that, and then it stifles the rest of your game because nothing else is.
Are you still young? You're a young player.
New players.
Thank you. By the way, and this copy of Maglev Metro has been loaned to us by Thinkathema, so. Thanks for that. They're lovely ladies in Melbourne. Check out their channel as well, Thinkathema on YouTube. So yeah, this is what they let us borrow and play it. So thanks Amy and Maggie.
Yep. This game plays up to 4. It does have a solo mode as well, which we didn't look into, but most of what you're doing is solo. Again, the only thing you can really steal from each other is the stations and the passengers that are on there. Otherwise, you're running your own track. So, yeah, lends itself quite comfortably to a solo version.
Yeah. So what do you think of this? Is a big chance that you have played Maglev Metro? Let us know in the comments. Any other route building games that you would like to remind us of? We probably forgot a few as well. Airlines and Ticket to Rides being 2 of them.
There's plenty out there.
Yeah, generally, I do like that sort of game with engine building. So yeah, well, let us know and we'll check it out. I do love to see your comments. And if you found this useful or somewhat useful, please help us by hitting that like button. We really appreciate that. And subscribe to us if you haven't already done so. Click the Meeple in the corner, hit the bell so you get notification. We do review videos like this. We've got Tarrant How to Play video. And we do live playthrough every weekend. And that's it. Hopefully we will see you again next time. Bye!
Bye.